Nanda Puram Sareka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Shri Siddhanta Nidim Subhakti Lakitam Sarasvatanam Varam Banditam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Yashishwara Sridharam Vanshakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratabhishe Namah. Is this thing in a good place? Okay. So this year I had the fortune of going to Navadip to Nrsimhapalli during the Gaur Purnima festival. Mahayogi Maharaj was there also. And first I'd gone to Colombia. And I hadn't been to Colombia in, I don't know, maybe like 30 years. And when I went there, I saw it was very nice, like several hundred devotees, and they were all working together, and it became inspired. So from there I decided to go straight almost to Navadip. First I went through China, Chongqing, we have center there. And from there I went to Nrsimhapalli. And got there a little bit late because I had pneumonia in China, but it was very inspiring to be with all the devotees in India. And my feeling is that if somehow or other there were a way that all the devotees could come together as always during the Gaur Purnima festival. And I know Nrsimhapalli is a little bit small to house everyone, but there could be housing in the area for people to come. And Acharya Maharaj, he told that he can always arrange housing in the area there for the devotees. And then eventually, I think we'll have another center. Now, hopefully it would be back in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. But at the present moment, it seems to be overrun with snakes. So, but eventually maybe it'll be possible. And otherwise, I'm sure Acharya Maharaj will build another center, maybe in Mayapur or something like that, which I feel that would still be good, because then all the devotees could come from all over the world and be in one place. Which I think if we are an international mission, so we should have the facilities to meet all together in one place. Anyway, it was inspiring me for me to be there and with all the devotees. And luckily, since I had these, when I was ill in China, they gave me so much intravenous medicine that when I got to India, I didn't have to worry about becoming ill in India. I think all my blood had been replaced by different kinds of antibiotics. So now I'm happy to be able to be here in London. It's also we always know that Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he always wanted to have some center in London because he felt he was asked to go there by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we know his famous quote that I cannot follow their tune, and he didn't come to London, which I feel was fortunate, because then he was there when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left this world, and we all know how he was asked to sing Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, and everyone felt that Srila Sridhar Maharaj was being asked to take the responsibility for the Rupa Nuga Sampradaya. And we also saw that and feel that that's really the case, as we saw with Srila Govinda Maharaj, how he was asked to acquire that land which is touching to the Jiva Goswami's Radha Damodar property, and Radha Damodar is where Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhajan Kutir and also his Samadhi is, and that property is very much related with Srila Rupa Goswami, and we heard how Krishna, was a person in Vrindavan who called to Srila Guru Maharaj.
Mahesh?
Pardon me?
Was it Mahesh?
Well, it's Mahesh's father.
Oh, right, yes.
It's Mahesh's father. And he called to Srila Govinda Maharaj to come and take responsibility to be able, to send somebody there to purchase, to acquire the property. And he said there were people offering 5-10 times as much for the land as the selling price. But he wanted Srila Govinda Maharaj to have that property. And Govinda Maharaj received that phone call through a phone that was actually dead for months. The phone wasn't working, and Srila Govinda Maharaj would, from time to time, pick up the phone to see if the line was back and was working again. I think it's Krishna Bhajan, Krishna. Anyway, when Govinda Maharaj picked up the phone one time, there was a call direct from Vrindavan telling Govinda Maharaj that the land had passed through so many years of litigation and now was available for purchase. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said, well, I'm in Navadip, I can't really go there. And he was told, it's not really necessary. You just send somebody here who can acquire the land on your behalf. And Govinda Maharaj said, when he didn't have funds at that particular moment, and he was told, that's also, you just send somebody who can sign. I'll put out the money, and then we can later you can pay me back. But not necessary to do anything except to send somebody there to sign for the property. And that Govinda Maharaj arranged. My memory is becoming really not very well, so who was it that was? Purnananda. Purnananda went there and signed for the property, and then they got the land.
Krishna Balaba, I think is.
Yeah, Krishna Balaba. And then a short time later, then Govinda Maharaj was going to Mauritius, and the daughter of Sita, who's the daughter of Premanidhi, she drew a picture, and she drew a picture of Krishna. She drew a picture of I'm reading the Chaitanya. Krishnadas Kaviraj. She drew a picture of Krishnadas Kaviraj, and Srila Govinda Maharaj was saying, why did she choose to draw a picture of Krishnadas Kaviraj? She could have drawn it of Krishna or Mahaprabhu or Rupa Goswami or anything, but she chose to draw a picture of Krishnadas Kaviraj. And Govinda Maharaj, he thought about that. What does this mean? And then he got another call from Krishna Ballabha, who told him that the Radha Vrindavan, the temple that was Radha Vrindavan Chandra's temple, where Krishna Das Kaviraj, or Krishna Kaviraj had written the part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that they also wanted that to come to Srila Govinda Maharaj's hands. So in that way, it's like something, we can say Srila Rupa Goswami, some indication coming through that Srila Govinda Maharaj was the actual representative of, in a mystical way, we can say, of Rupa Goswami. And we also saw that when Srila Govinda Maharaj was there in Govardhan, that how that the Govardhan Shila that had been lost for a long time. Some people were saying there was a flood. It's hard to, I've not heard of any flooding in the Vrindavan area, but they said there was a flood, and somehow or other that Govardhan Shila, which is very big, had been lost. And then when Govinda Maharaj, the devotees asked him what they should do, he said, well, just plow the land. At least we can cultivate the land, get some use out of the land before we're building something. And they began cultivating, and then they discovered that Govardhan Shila. So we've always seen that the way that Srila Govinda Maharaj was given the responsibility of the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. It's as his pranam mantra says, Chintya Chintya Samasthaveda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam. It's like everything that's conceivably known, what it can be known ostensibly, and what is unknowable, we can say. All that is revealed to Srila Govinda Maharaj. So, as I was saying, Srila Maharaj, he was given some responsibility by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur for taking charge of the Rupa Nuga Sampradaya. And then after Guru Maharaj, there were indications also that responsibility had been passed on, which of course one would imagine or consider that it was coming from Srila Guru Maharaj to Srila Govinda Maharaj. So this has always been our wealth, we can say, that in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, that we always counted with the affection and the guidance of Srila Govinda Maharaj. And I feel that since we are a mission that's going on all over the world, we should be able to come together during the Gaur Purnima time, which is really essentially the most important time of the year. We always consider that and the appearance day of Gurudev, like that, to be Guru Maharaj and Srila Govinda Maharaj, to be of special significance on our calendar. And of course, there are many other important Vaishnava holidays, but with Gaur Purnima, it's not just a festival of, like in the West, we may celebrate for 1 or 2 days. We'll celebrate the actual appearance day of Mahaprabhu, and then the next day there'll be the feast of Jagannath. Mishra, the Mahotsav at midday. But when you're in India, the festival actually begins, we can say, with Nityananda's appearance day, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day, then Shivratri and the installation of the Sadashiva Gangadhar temple, and so many other things are going on. And the festival, then there you have the festival, the parikramas, then the Gaur Purnima festival, and then Pancham Dol. Pancham Dol, Dol Yatra in Bengal means holy, the holy festival. And Pancham Dol, that it isn't just one day. Pancham Dol is when everyone goes to Hapania. And then they have Dasham Dol. They go to Bamanbar. So these festivals are lasting a month. Although even if you just go by our Vaishnav calendar, it's 8 days, right? From the beginning of the Adibas of the Shinabadip Dham Parikramas and going through Gaur Purnima and then to Hapani. It's about 8 days. But to be in India, to be in Bengal during that time, for me, it's very, very nice. And then you're with all the pilgrims that go there. And you see all these people there. They're actually very, very happy to be with all the Westerners. They draw inspiration from having the Westerners there, going on the parikramas with them. And I very much like that. And I feel it's a world mission if we could all come together for that festival. That was my idea. I wasn't when I went to Colombia, then I was thinking in that way. Well, now from here I'm just going to practically go straight to India. I was back for a few days and then went on. And now it's a continuation, and I'm continuing to travel. I've come here to London. And I'm very happy to see all of you. It's my good fortune to be with all the devotees. And I feel also that we have so many preachers here, but we also have to take some. I feel like personally that I needed to come to London, that I had to be involved with the preaching here in London. I know that many devotees, they're anxious that Srila Acharya Maharaj will come here. But up until now, because of the situation in India, he hasn't been able to come here. And I feel that being persons who are favorable to him, that they will come here and visit, that's very nice. And over the years, I met so many nice devotees here. And I know that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he had much faith in he had much faith in Devashish Prabhu. That I've heard Guru Maharaj on tape talking about Devashish and how he sent him here. Well, that he saw Devashish as being qualified. Srila Sridhar Maharaj was talking about that. And when you hear him preach also, he's very knowledgeable. I said today, I used the word erudite. People were saying, oh, this is a erudite. Yes, he is erudite. He can cite the Shastra and everything. And now in SoCal, I'm reading every day from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Before we were reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And now we're in the Antya Leela of Chaitanya Bhagavat. So to be able to hear a little different mood from Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, different than Krishnadas Kaviraj. I mean, the way things are presented. Sometimes Mahaprabhu is revealing his divinity to people in a more ostensive way. He's saying, I am he, I am he. And then sometimes Mahaprabhu forbids anybody to reveal. It's almost like if you tell anyone who I am, then you won't last very long. Mm-hmm. So we don't hear so much that mood in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But it's the Vrindavan Das Thakur's presentation is very ecstatic also. And so I decided that I would just continue to read the verses, and even when I'm gone, if I'm gone for 20 days, when I come back, I'll start at the same point where I left off. I don't care if anybody else reads or doesn't read, or reads that book or reads a different book, but when I come back, I'll start at the same point. And then we're broadcasting everything, and admittedly, my idea is, before I was just reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and if I would leave Sokel, then somebody else was reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and when I came back, I would start wherever that person had left off. But no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing it so that we can have a continuous recordings of the whole Chaitanya Bhagavat and the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, and hopefully, I'll be able to finish that, because it doesn't take very long. You can read through the Chaitanya Bhagavat or the Chaitanya Charitamrita in about 4 months if you read every day. So then everything will be there, and not that anybody necessarily will, but there are a lot of people who subscribed to hear that. So, but it's kind of my idea that I want to have the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita and the whole Chaitanya Bhagavat there. Somebody can say, well, why don't you just read it into a recorder, and then you can put them up. No, it's a lot different when you're reading it out loud during a class, because even if there may be 1 or 2 people only present, and then there's some people online who are listening also. But the difference is that when you're reading out loud to other people, you wind up that you're preaching to yourself. You're actually listening yourself to what's being said, and many things become kind of, you can say, revealed. There are points. It's always happening like that. There is points that I previously had glossed over and didn't necessarily, what is meant by that? And then I'm reading through it again, and then all of a sudden something so obvious. Oh, that's what was meant. That happens quite often. So that's, I don't know, it's become kind of like a little bit of an obsession with me. And I saw in ISKCON that, I don't know what happens with many people. They go to Vrindavan, and there's all this atmosphere in Vrindavan, and it's like a big festival and everything. Or then they go to South India, but for some reason, going to Bengal seems to be an anathema with many people that, like, they don't want to go to Bengal. I don't know. It's like, I don't know what the point is. Bengalis are fish eaters, or they don't follow their Vedic tradition. They're tantric they follow Tantra. They follow Ma Kali and Durga festivals, and they're not Vaishnavas, etc. I don't know what the conclusion is, but all I can say is there's all these things may have some truth in them, but the difference is that in North India, the people may be UP and all this, they may be Vaishnavas, but they don't necessarily accept that people from the West can become Vaishnavas. They may feel that they themselves are Vaishnavas, but they're not necessarily thinking that the visitors from the West, that they can become Vaishnavas. And also when you're in Bengal, the people may be, whatever you may think that the people are, and Srila Guru Maharaj, he said his own family was not necessarily favorable to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, that they weren't followers necessarily of Mahaprabhu. But even so, when you're in Bengal, if you start Naga Kirtan, if you start playing Kirtan, Mridanga and Kartal, so many people will join in with you. It's like something that's infectious, something that's in their blood. They actually have some propensity to that. You can see, I don't know how it's working or what's going on, but and then, as I said, from what I experienced on the going on parikrama with all these people in the past. This year I didn't go on parikrama, but in the past, going on parikrama with all the Bengalis, that they have, so many of them, they have such a very sweet nature. So definitely, that is one of the reasons I want to read Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, because I saw before there was an emphasis on hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, but a lot of our own devotees, they weren't really familiar with Mahaprabhu's own Leela. They hadn't really read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, or if they read it, maybe they read it through once or twice, but they didn't read it continually. They didn't read it over and over again, or read it, that they were familiar with Mahaprabhu's Leela. And I think that's very important, because how can you be a Gaudiya Vaishnava and not know about what Mahaprabhu is doing and what he's saying? And a lot of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's preaching is, of course, coming from different Shastra, but ultimately, so much of it is coming from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, a lot of you are coffee drinkers. So in his introduction to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he would say that the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, what's given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, is being percolated. So that should ring with many of the persons who are drinking of that beverage. I know when I came to the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mutt, I'll say that we had been brought up that we didn't drink coffee, we didn't drink tea. We were even thinking there was something wrong with eating chocolate bars or something. Chocolate was a stimulant. So, and I heard from Sanatan, who used to be, Mr.
Sanyal, huh? Mr. Sanyal, I think.
No. Who was a disciple of Srila Anyway, Sanatan. That was
Bengali.
his initiation. What?
It's Bengali.
Yeah.
Sanatan Prabhu, yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
And he said when he came to the Mat, that Govinda Maharaj, asked him questions because he was going to take initiation from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Govinda Maharaj said, well, are you eating meat? And he said, no, I gave that up several years ago. And then he said, are you smoking cigarettes? No, I've stopped that. And then Govinda Maharaj said, are you taking tea? And he said, yes, I take tea. And then Srila Govinda Maharaj said, well, you'll have to give that up. So, anyway, that's what Govinda Maharaj told. Because I believe that was a standard of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. You wouldn't get initiation from Srila Sridhar Maharaj if you were, so to speak, a tea drinker. But anyway.
He would often chastise Govinda Maharaj for drinking tea.
He did.
Yeah, he did, yeah. So he'd say, oh, you're always going to Krishna Mai's house and drinking tea. Why are you always doing
Well. So anyway, these kind of considerations are being there. But I did refer to the Prabhupada's comment about the percolating of the meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam is there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And actually, I know Srila Prabhupada, he presented Srimad Bhagavatam, but there's so much of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Srila Govinda Maharaj said, unless you study it under a guru, you'll become confused reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, there's so many, and Bhakti Vinod Thakur writes that in his, the Bhagavad, his lectures on the Bhagavad, he says that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a compendium of Hindu thought. So there's many things that are presented in the Srimad Bhagavatam that won't be very easily understood. And so Srila Govinda Maharaj said, yes, you can read the Srimad Bhagavatam, but you have to read it from beginning to end with all the purports. Then you'll be able to understand it. So in our day, we read through the Srimad Bhagavatam. But as I said, many of the devotees were unfamiliar with Mahaprabhu's own preaching, his activities, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj is drawing upon so many important verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam that are contained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. For instance, what is that verse? Bhayam Dutvi. How does the verse begin? Bhayam Dutvi Viniveshatad Shat. You know that verse? That when the living entity becomes under the influence of Maya, then his conception of life becomes drastically changed. Instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna under the dictations of Maya, he becomes Krishna's competitor. That's what false ego is about. You become Krishna's competitor. And the way it's worded one way, and the verse is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. But in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's presented in such a way that it's presented that there's a role reversal. But we could say in the West, like cross-dressing, right? So because who is Krishna's servant is dressing as Krishna. So that means going from Prakriti to Purusha. So there is a role reversal. And then it says, what is the result of that role reversal? Mayam. that one becomes covered over with fear. One becomes very fearful. So that's what it means to live in the material world, to become fearful. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita it says, even a little advancement can save one from the greatest fear. Now, it doesn't take too much intuition to be able to understand what is the greatest fear in this world. Everyone, of course, they're eternal souls, but everyone, somehow or other, under the enchantment of material existence, they're afraid of death. So but even a little bit of advancement will save one from that kind of fear. Because generally speaking, you'll see. Now, I've been in a situation in Sokel that one time, I know Avadut Maharaj, he described Sokel as being like a retirement community. That is. What?
Gentlemen's club.
Well, the gentlemen and ladies club, but that is that many of the devotees are really like senior citizens. Only some of them didn't ever get to the point of reaching being senior citizens, because I would think that the average life expectancy, and somebody told me in the United States it's around 80 years old. It seems like so many devotees haven't even reached 70 years old. And, just like the last time I was here, I felt like I didn't get to stay long enough in London, because when before I came over here, like, I had bought a ticket for Ramayam. He was coming over here with me. And then a few days before he was to travel, he was complaining about some pain. They went into the emergency room. They did some scan on him, and they told him he had stage 4 cancer. That means it had metastasized to a lot of places in his body. So I wanted to cancel my trip to London, because I was worried about him. But he started crying, and he told me no, I had to go. And Pitambar was coming with me also, and Pitambar was going to meet his daughter from France, and he bought about 5 tickets, and I knew if I canceled, Pitambar would have canceled. So, and Ramai was making a little bit of commotion, so then I said, all right, I'll go to London. But I was expecting that I would see Ramai when I came back. But it didn't happen that way, and he passed away while I was here in London, so I had to cut the trip in half and go back. So, like that, there's been so many persons, Parvat Maharaj, Dikshavati, Pushta Krishna Prabhu, the list goes on. Yeah. Like when even when I talk to Goswami Maharaj, he's like telling me, you can't but think that how much time left do you have? And everyone else is what?
It's popping off their perch, as they say.
Is what?
Popping off their perch. It's like a bird on a perch. Going down.
Yeah. Yeah, we have other ways of saying it. Govinda Maharaj, how he put it, he said, people are going to, I guess it's pronounced portals, going to pick portals by the Ganga. Because when someone dies, they say it's Ganga Prapti, he's gone to the Ganga. So he told me of one person who was passing away. He said he's going to pick portals by the Ganga, which meant, by going by the Ganga meant pick these portals or vegetable by the Ganga meant going to die. And he said something like, he's going to die and he owes me 2 lakhs of rupees. so many persons are going that way, and yeah, I guess you could think about it. But frankly, I just don't care. I honestly don't care. Why? Because I'm 74 years old. I mean, I've lasted beyond 70. I feel, my feeling is I'm playing with house money. You know that expression, playing with house money? House money means the house always wins. In gambling, the house always wins. So if you happen to win back your investment, then you can only come out ahead because you're now playing with house money, not with your own money. So I've reached this number of years, and I feel, okay, I'm playing with house money. That, you know. Yeah. I was telling David Sheets, they said about one politician, he was running for president, and they said, well, he's so old. And I think it was 74 or something. They said he's so old. And the person said, even if they said, any way he dies, they'll say it's natural causes. He died of natural causes. Even if he gets run over by a car, they'll say, even if he gets run over by a car, he still died of natural causes. A younger man would have got out of the way. So, you know. But that is going on in our community now. All these persons, it's like, seems to be they're all signing up. But I don't know, that my attitude towards death is when I hear about other people dying, I say, oh, that's too bad. Can you pass the doll? That's kind of, I don't mean to be callous about the whole thing. And I actually do feel very, you know, kind of, I guess, weepy when I hear about somebody, but not ostensibly. I just like feel, what, you know, like everyone who's living, you know, you could say, not everyone who's living from the very time that they're born, they're all dying at the same time. We wouldn't think that way normally about a child or something, but it's actually true. It's true with them as much as it is anyone else. That, you know, I remember one sannyasi used to, whenever I'd do something or say something that was wrong, he'd say, Chitraketu is marking that down. Chitraketu, he's the, is it Chitraketu? Is the Chitragupta. Chitragupta, that's what he would say. Chitragupta is marking that down. Chitragupta is the scorekeeper. He's the scorekeeper for Yamaraj.
Chitra means a picture of something, and Gupta, you know, hidden. So he sees everything.
All right. Yeah. You know. That's the way, anyway, I'm not worried about Chitragupta. If it's something hidden, it's like, as far as I'm concerned, what you see is what you get. You know, I don't, you know, pretend to be very much, but, you know, so what you're seeing, that's what's there. And like, when I'm speaking, whether people understand me or not, online, I don't really care how many hits I get. I don't care how many people are actually tuned in or not.
Tuned in or drop out.
Like product placement.
What?
You haven't thought about product placements on your videos yet?
No, not at all. But yeah, before I was doing it on Facebook, you know, because that's what most people look at, and our Sri Chaitanya, what do we call ourselves? Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Sevashram. We have Facebook page, so people go there, and the majority of people go there. I personally don't like Facebook at all, but it's the easiest way of broadcasting. So I broadcast to Facebook, and then I download the videos, and I've hit the big time because I have my own YouTube channel, and on my YouTube channel I have, like, I don't know, all the videos of the classes on YouTube there. So, and easier to organize with playlists and all that. So now I'm, like that song, now I'm making it in the big time. But anyway, that's still I still feel some inspiration for that. If people can actually hear Chaitanya Charitamrita as it's being read to the devotees, because in India, when you read something, that's called pat. It's called pat. I can say Chaitanya Charitamrita classes or Chaitanya Bhagavad classes, but they're not really classes. They're just readings. There's readings, and then sometimes something is not so clear, so you'll explain it. And the Chaitanya Bhagavad has commentaries of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But just like there are commentaries in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Srila Prabhupada draws, I guess, of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and also of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But I can't read all those. I can't necessarily read the whole purport. Some of those purports go on 20 pages. You won't remember what the next previous verse is, or what the next verse, or what chapter you're on, if you read the whole purport. So then somebody came to visit me, and then they said, I told them I'm reading the Chaitanya Bhagavad, and they said, "Oh, are you reading the purports?" And they say, "Well, not usually, but sometimes." Or sometimes I'm explaining it. They said, "Well, then I wouldn't be interested." Okay, you may not be interested. I don't really care one way or the other. But why don't I read the purports? Because I feel the purports are like this, that if you're a research scholar, the rishis are research scholars, and you want to go, for instance, and if you want to go on pilgrimage to all the places, for instance, in South India where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went, then you might be interested in knowing all the railway lines that went to those places, and even some of those railway lines don't exist anymore, or the railway stops don't exist anymore. But it will still be useful information, because you'll be able to find out how to get there if you're going on a pilgrimage. Then it's useful information. And then, as I was talking with Jaggi Maharaj, there are things, there are information that also Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks about. But if you don't know the history, you won't be able to understand what he's talking about when he say, "Oh, there's somebody named Chaitanya Das," but they will follow Advaita Acharya, but they don't follow Mahaprabhu. Then you have to know something about what's being said about why that situation exists with the sons of Advaita Acharya, or also what he's referring to is, what is the place in Navadip where they say Mayapur is not the real Mayapur, that there's a Mayapur, Prachin Navadip, which is the biggest crock of horse manure. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur refers to that there are some people who call themselves Chaitanya Das, but they don't even really accept the conclusion of where Mayapur is, etc. So there are things that are not so ostensibly known by readers of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, but we know something about those issues, because we've we've been around Navadip and Mayapur, and we've been exposed to all the nonsense that goes on in Bengal, basically. So we know what Srila Saraswati Thakur is referring to, but a normal reader
That's right.
who's, huh?
Yeah. They might think, oh, the pure text is pure, and then any purport, that's somebody's idea, So we're not so interested in that. But that's to do with their spiritual vision, isn't it?
Pardon me?
The person may think the text is pure, Chaitanya Charitamrita, but any commentary or purports.
Well, I think Saraswati Thakur's commentaries are wonderful.
Of course, yeah.
They're but I also want the devotees to be familiar with the actual succession of events that are occurring in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And, well, I have a hard enough time sometimes keeping awake as it is. Not that I'm saying those things put me to sleep, but they don't. But so anyway, that's my aspiration. And anyway, I'm here, and I've also got Tridandi Maharaj, I've got Mahayogi Maharaj. I'd like to also give them a chance to speak. Maybe Tridandi Maharaj will like
Well,
to
it's
speak.
been very nice hearing you speak, Maharaj. Lovely to see you back here. And as you say, we're a family, international family, and we may not always meet together so often, or occasionally at different times. But as I say, what we have in common is that all the devotees in some way have been touched, by the conception, spiritual conception of Mahaprabhu coming through our line, our Guru Varga, and this is our commonality. In other ways, so many other ways, quote unquote, materially, or we may not have so much in common, but that we do have. We're all drawn by that beauty and charm of the conception. And so that transcends really all other considerations. So it's important to have to come together at these times and share some.
And that is the uniqueness of the Sri Chaitanya Saraswati. That's what really is important about the Sri Chaitanya Saraswati month, is that when you came to Guru Maharaj, you really had some feeling that now the emphasis is on Mahaprabhu, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying with Srila Prabhupada there was an emphasis on Mahaprabhu, but at the same time, not that necessarily his young disciples could understand everything that he was indicating.
Yeah, because it's expanded out so much into the Hindu community, and for them, Krishna is sort of, the way Guru Maharaj put it, he said he's like the big administrator. Everybody knows Krishna, they have some feeling, some attraction. Mahaprabhu less, it's much less, only in Bengal, and so that of course he is the hidden incarnation, and etc. So that's why.
Yeah, many of them, they'll go into the temple, they'll see, Gauranga Sundar and Gandharvika Giridhari, and they'll see,
Who's that?
they'll say, who is that?
Yeah.
They think, is that Balaram?
Yeah.
They don't necessarily know. And so, first of all, there's that. And then, among many of the devotees, they also don't know. It's like, the joke that Govinda Maharaj told about how he says Sanskrit scholars, how they lose the gist, and the person who was heard, he's analyzing the word for tiger, bog, what is it? And he's saying, one who comes for smelling, he says, comes from ganda, smell. So he's thinking tiger is coming for smelling. And when he goes through the traveling, then some people say, don't go there, there's a man-eating tiger. And he says, they do not know. Tiger meaning one who comes for taking the smell, the fragrance, the smelling. They do not understand. It's a joke making fun of Sanskrit scholars. And then he does not know. And then he continues, and then the tiger pounces on him and is eating him. And then he's thinking of the tiger. He does not know. He does not know. He said, one who comes for taking the smell, the bog, ganda. And then he says, then he thinks a minute. One who comes for taking the smell and sometimes eating. So we also see even among our own devotees, like for instance, during Rath Yatra time, what is the Dwarka, what is the Jagannath, what is Nilachala, what is the Jagannath temple? What is the representation of? It's a representation of Dwarka. Because Subhadra was never in Vrindavan. She's in Dwarka. And Mahaprabhu, what is his mood? Wants to take Krishna from Dwarka to Vrindavan, the Gundija temple, Sundarachala. That is Vrindavan. But who was administering? We know Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He's like watching. He's doing some work for the British government involving Jagannath Puri temple. But who is actually running the Rath Yatra? It's Maharaj Pratraparudra, and you could say the government is running the Jagannath Puri temple. It's not Mahaprabhu himself who's running the Rath Yatra. And the worship of Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra is not going on so much. You won't see that in Gaudiya Math temples. Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nayana. What we're singing about in Saraswat Arti, that's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's conception, what he's presenting. And you can hear Guru Maharaj's Arti about it, what the meaning is. But it's not really our business to be, running Jagannath Baladev. We're not running Jagannath Puri temples or Jagannath, or so much that. Nor do we have temples that have Ramachandra and, what we know Mahaprabhu is that he's also was, as Mahaprabhu, he said that Nityananda Prabhu was present as Lakshman, Mahaprabhu also present as Lord Ramachandra. He showed that in this Sadbhuj. But one devotee wanted to establish Sadbhuj in one of our temples, and Guru Maharaj said that is not our line. He said Sadbhuj may be useful in a general sense to show that Mahaprabhu is Krishna, he's also Ramachandra, so it may be informative for some people, but that's not our line of worship. But if you look around many temples of the world, you won't really necessarily understand what is our line of worship. Because in some temples they've established Ramachandra. Not so much in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, but different temples have established different things, right? What?
The man, this one, yeah.
Pardon me?
Bhaktivedanta Mana.
Bhaktivedanta Mana.
Yeah. So why is that? Because they're doing business. They're doing business with the Hindu community. Is it, maybe I'm oversimplifying it?
No.
No, yeah, hundreds of people that were Indian.
Yeah, so,
They justify it on the basis that they say this because Swami Maharaj established Lord Ramachandra at one temple only, and that was in Mumbai, that's what I'm told, but it doesn't mean that they can then go and do all that sort of thing, you know. So, it's true what you say, it's not within our line, it's not within the line of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, really.
yeah, so, you know, sometimes you want the devotees will have a clean conception. And I feel there's some necessity of hearing about Mahaprabhu and his conception. And that's what drew so many of us. I wouldn't say that's what drew us to the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. What drew us to the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat is Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. That's what drew the devotees, not necessarily. But it is a fact that that's also synonymous with understanding Mahaprabhu's pure conception. And as I said before, it's not that that wasn't presented by Srila Prabhupada, but obviously not everybody could understand what he was saying because many of them, you know, have come up with something else. My business is really not to find fault with ISKCON or Prabhupada's mission or anything. They have their own mission. What they will do with their own mission is their own affair. It's not my affair. It's not any of our affair. But, you know, I'm just saying that the exclusivity of our line is focused in on what Guru Maharaj and Govinda Maharaj are saying and what they're giving us. I always thought in the presence of Srila Govinda Maharaj that Govinda Maharaj, what he showed me is the living presentation of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. His humor, what he spoke, his humor, what was the food, everything, or prasadam we should say, but everything, it's just, you know, what we would take at the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. It's not what, I know so many of our members from India, they can cook very nicely. In general, much better than the Western devotees can. Not that our Western devotees can also cook nice, but mostly the Western devotees, if you go to their houses, what they're making is sandwiches, you know, or tacos, or enchiladas, or spaghetti, or, you know, or stir fry, something along that line. It's not in most houses that they're cooking rice dough and sabji or tarkari. But, you know, in our Indian person's houses, they are cooking that. So naturally, in general, they know how to cook very nicely. But even then, there's a distinction between that and what is cooked in Bengal. It's not every Indian that knows how to make shukta. It's not every Indian that knows how to make aloo koshta, no? It's or aloo dam, or so many other things, begum bhaja, or, you know, not begum bhaja maybe, but not necessarily with neem leaves. Yeah. So, I mean, all those things. Many people, they don't know how to cook all those preparations. Why? Because they're synonymous with Bengal. And at the same time, you wonder what Krishna was eating, what he himself was taking, because if you read, every day we're singing Bhaja Bhakata, But have you read what's being offered to Krishna there? Shukta and so many other things that you don't normally see in UP. So maybe Krishna had a Bengali cook. Or maybe Mother Yashoda that spent some time in Bengal or something. Isn't it so? Isn't the description of the menu from Bhajabhakata makes it sound like that the whole Nanda Maharaj's household spent some time in Bengal. At least, I didn't really think about it so much, but then I was looking at it and I was saying, wait a minute. All these preparations and sweets, which are known in Bengal. Like in Punjab, do they make shukta? No. Anyway, I'm just randomly talking. Does anyone have any questions they want to ask? Maybe we'll take a more philosophical turn.
There's one thing I mentioned, that Sanatan Prabhu I think he was the last disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, the last one initiated, and he was given the name Sanatan for the reason when he was asking questions of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, it was the exact same questions that
Sanatan
Goswami asked to Mahaprabhu.
Uh-huh.
So he gave him the name Sanatan. So he was quite some devotee. Some beneficial association. We were very fortunate to have a good association with him. And Srila Govinda Maharaj permitted him to have Radha Krishna deities in his own house. And he was very surrendered, actually. And when he retired from his job, he surrendered, I think, something like over a third of his pension to the Mott. And always doing things for Srila Govinda Maharaj, and Srila Govinda Maharaj wanted him to actually become the manager of the entire mission in India, but he passed away untimely. Srila Govinda Maharaj was quite saddened by that. But it shows what he came apparently very late in life to Krishna consciousness, but he was already quite an elevated soul, actually.
He had this huge land. He was renting a place, and in Calcutta, the renting laws said if you rent it for so many years, it was like you own the property. So it couldn't be taken away from you. But his landlord, somehow or other, I don't know, the land passed to some local gangster. And that local gangster tried to get Sanatan to move. So this huge holding of land near Dalhousie Square.
Yes.
And the landlord came, the gangster people came, and they were breaking up his whole house, and they saw it, as you're saying, that he was worshiping Radha and Krishna. And they said, you're worshiping Radha Krishna, but what are they doing for you? Look, that, where your whole house is being destroyed. And Sanatan answered, it's not a question of what they're doing for us. He said, we are worshiping them because we love them, because we want to worship them. We're not worshiping for what benefit we can derive from them. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said, when he heard that, he was very much captured more by Sanatan. Then he told him, we don't worship Radha and Krishna for what they can do for us. What are they can do for us? It's not, has nothing to do with why we're worshiping them. So,
Good point.
It was a very heavy situation for him. Like, it showed what a devotee he was. Amazing. Under that kind of extreme opposition from the environment, you know. So I
yeah.
thought I'd mention that. It's quite a remarkable devotee. Only wish I could have had more association with him, actually. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes.
So do any of you have any questions you want to ask? So Devashish, what's on our calendar? Not so specifically the Vaishnav calendar, but tomorrow we have a program
Green Street.
in Green Street in East London, right?
Yeah, everyone's looking forward to having your company there, hearing from you.
About Monday, because that's a date, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we were hoping to take Maharaj somewhere, but we haven't quite decided where yet.
Yeah.
We're in consultation. We will try and see if we can have a day out.
Well, it's a bank holiday, so that only the banks and schools are closed, not normal things are not closed, right?
There's some, but
I'm
not.
off work.
Pardon me?
People, normal working people get a day off usually,
They
generally speaking.
Okay, those people get the day off, but places where you go, and even markets or anything like that, that's not closed, right?
Yes.
Some
Some are, but
a lot, yeah.
Still things going on.
Okay. Only the markets that are owned by banks.
the city of London will be just quiet.
Right.
It'll be quiet.
Ghost town, yeah. You go-
Oh, great.
We want to go on Sunday.
Yeah, somewhere peaceful.
There's nobody around.
That means
I mean the city,
square
the
mile.
financial centre, yeah.
What they call the square mile, not the actual city centre.
Okay, so banks are closed, businesses are closed, but the boots are still active,
Yeah.
because you're saying ghost town. All the different boots are active.
Yeah.
They never rest.
Well, that's what the Gita says. Yam yam vapi, what is it?
Yam yam vapi smaram.
Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajat yante kalevaram tam tam evaite konteya sara tad bhava bhavita. That the boots are never calm. When your body dies, then your subtle body, based on your consciousness, will take you to your next body. In other words, your subtle body doesn't die, just your gross body. And we can really say this body is pretty gross. That dies, but the subtle body doesn't die. So tomorrow, on this day after tomorrow, the gross establishments will be closed, but the subtle body establishments will still be open.
There was this film about like a zombie apocalypse, and at the end they round up all the zombies, and it shows at the end society returning back to normality, but then the zombies are in like the
I don't know, I don't watch any of, there's so many of those zombie movies, I won't watch any of them, they're so repetitious.
Same outcome.
Yeah.
The humour in it was that at the end, all the zombies are working in the sort of stores at the checkouts, doing the sort of day-to-day jobs.
Well, I don't know, I was once with Prabhupada in an airport, and he turned to me and he said, as far as He says, as far as I can see, he said, there were many people walking around. He said, there are all so many walking dead bodies. So there's your zombie conception.
Kind of the point of it, yeah.
Yeah, zombie conception, so many walking dead bodies.
It's no
Now,
consciousness.
I don't normally think of people as walking dead bodies or zombies, but I can understand what Prabhupada meant by that statement. I won't refer to other people as zombies. As Srila Govinda Maharaj, he also spoke. He said that was one of the reasons he didn't like Bengali cinema. He said it was always so sad, and everything was always somebody was crying, and he said life is already got enough sadness in it that if we watch some cinema, we want to be entertained. We don't necessarily want to be reminded of how much misery we're in. Although I still will avoid musicals. Only musicals I like is like In the Temple.
Such a nice cast of performers, eh?
What?
There's always such a nice cast of performers in the temple when they're doing the musical.
Well,
Expert
yeah.
players and kirtans and singers.
It seems like in Mumbai films, so much of them are musicals, right? Yeah. They're always everybody's singing and dancing, and sometimes very nice things are very nice choreographed. They're choreographed very nicely and kind of like synchronized swimming. An Olympic event. But we would go in with Govinda Maharaj, and he would turn on the television, but he didn't really watch very much of it. He just turned it on to keep people from bothering him. So.
Because you distract their minds, they would all look at the television.
No, it just filled up something like that. Like Srila Sridhar Maharaj, so many people were asking him questions, and finally one time he said, "You're feeding me so much straw. You're making me eat straw." It's like people repeat the same questions over and over again. As an example, they say. I mean, they're nice questions, but they'll say, how can we increase our devotional appetite, or how can we increase our desire for devotion? And it's like, after 30 years, you're asking me this question. You haven't figured that out yet yourself. You haven't figured that out yourself. That by being in the association of devotees, by engaging in service, you'll naturally acquire more and more taste. You haven't figured that out. You want to hear the answer again. Now, when Sanatana Goswami was talking with Mahaprabhu, he said, "Kiyami, who am I, and why am I always suffering through the three kleshas, the three sufferings, adhyatmika klesha, adhibautika klesha, adhidaivika klesha?" He asked, Mahaprabhu said, "But you already know, you're a sadhu, you already know the answer to these questions, but still, for the benefit of other people, you're asking these questions. But those are very nice questions. Who am I and why am I suffering?" That's a basic question. That kind of question is always useful. And why am I suffering under the three miseries? Miseries of one's own mind and body, one's miseries caused by other people. Other people may also be insects, like mosquitoes, etc. They're also adibhotika klesha. And adidivika klesha is acts of nature, hurricanes, cyclones, typhoons, tsunamis, forest fires, whatever you want to say. We're all suffering under those kleshas. So, but Sanatana Goswami Mahaprabhu said, "You're sadhu, you already know the answers, but you're asking these questions." Just like Arjuna was asking questions to Krishna. But obviously Arjuna, he's an eternal devotee of Krishna. He already knows, Arjuna already knows what the gist of the whole Bhagavad Gita is before Krishna even speaks it. But there's a reason why the conversation happens. And still, you see, how long, when Krishna's speaking to Arjuna, it's before the battle of Kurukshetra. They didn't delay the battle too long. It's a conversation that happens, and then the battle takes place. So, what is the explanation? The explanation, it is said that sometimes, in a Vedic society or in India, when somebody, often, maybe not in modern times, but previously, when the son would get married, then the son and his wife would move into the house of the son's parents. So they would live there. But the mother, or the mother of the family, she cannot always instruct her daughter-in-law how her daughter-in-law's moved in, and she wants to instruct her daughter-in-law how things are done in the house, to maintain some kind of tranquility in the house. So how does she instruct her daughter-in-law? She instructs her daughter-in-law by instructing her own daughter in the presence of her daughter-in-law. She teaches her own daughter. She's just giving some instructions to her own daughter, but within earshot of her daughter-in-law, and then her daughter-in-law understands. So yes, this is the way things are done here. So it's without her having to, directly confront her daughter-in-law and tell her, "You're doing this wrong," or something. But she'll correct her own daughter in the presence of her daughter-in-law. So it's something, Bhagavad Gita is something like that. Arjuna is the eternal devotee of Krishna, but he's being instructed by Krishna and sometimes taken to task by Krishna, like when he says, after the whole first chapter where he lays out to Krishna why he will not fight, then in the beginning of the second chapter, he says, "Now I am a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me." And what is the first thing Krishna says? "While speaking learned words, you are mourning for that which is not worthy of grief." This body. Those who are actually learned don't lament either for the living or the dead. That's what Krishna, in other words, Krishna calls him, in a nice way, is telling him you're a fool. So, that's the first thing that happens. And why would somebody who's Krishna's eternal devotee in Sakya Ras, liberated soul, why would he have to say to Krishna that I'm your disciple, I'm a soul surrendered unto you? Why would he be talking to Krishna in that way? But obviously somebody is listening. Who is that somebody? Sanjaya is talking to Dhritarashtra. And subsequently, a lot of other people are reading Bhagavad Gita. Not always getting it right, but they're reading Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, Srila Maharaj, he said that Prabhupada, he called you know, kind of like pounding your fist. He said, called Bhagavad Gita as it is. You know, very emphatic about how he was presenting the Bhagavad Gita. Just like we remember his quotes where Prabhupada would say, that Dr. Radhakrishna says that it is not to Krishna that one has to surrender, but to the unborn within Krishna. Now, what kind of a comment is that? What is the difference between Krishna's inside and outside? You know, Krishna says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru. He's saying, Mam. He says to me, but then somebody says, oh, it's not to Krishna, but to the unborn within Krishna. Well, where does it say that? And if that's so, then why does Krishna say that, yes, those who follow the impersonal path, they may also, in the 12th chapter, yes, they may also come to me after many, out of much, but it is very difficult path for one who is embodied, which would seem to be us. The last time I looked, we were embodied. You know? So, and Krishna says this path is not recommended. But eventually they may get it. Just like you can eat directly like this, or you can eat like this. And it may find its way into the same mouth. But why go through so much extra trouble? Like, if it's only the Tata Brahma Jigyasa, it's only the Brahman that we're approaching, then why are we offering prayers? If there's no personality, there's no qualities, there's no person, who are you offering prayers to? You know, who do you offer prayers to? There's nobody, there's no person. If you're following the impersonal path, there's no person to receive your prayers. If divinity is ultimately impersonal, without form, without person, etc., then there's no question. And then why is it called Bhagavad Gita, Song of the Lord, Song of God?
The person has to sing that.
Huh?
The person has to sing that.
Yeah, and it's being sung to his devotee. He's telling him that, you know. Anyway, just saying. So, Monday, bank holiday.
Regarding what you were saying about people asking the same question, someone in one of the darshans asked Srila Acharya about how to be sincere, and his response is very curt, and he says, just be sincere.
Yeah. Or he could have, it's like saying, how can I be sincere? Well, don't be false. You know. Don't be false. Don't be two-faced. Because it is said that a disciple is like a wife. That's the way it's been presented. The disciple is like a wife. A wife is supposed to have some chastity. Disciple is supposed to have some chastity to one's guru. Srila Govinda Maharaj, he once commented, he said, this is the difference between India and the West. He said in India, a person will never leave their guru. He said, they may not listen to anything he says, but they will never leave him. But in the West, they're very sincere and they will follow everything their guru says, but then 6 years later you'll say, where is that person? Oh, that person went away. But in India, nobody will leave their guru. But he also said they won't listen to one word he says. And in the West, follow everything meticulously, but may not last so long. Now, somehow or other, I don't know. been around 50 years now. Well, in 19, what are we? Yeah, next year, 50 years.
Have you
In
traveled-
spite of myself.
Have you traveled whole India, Maharaj?
Pardon me?
You have traveled whole India?
We travelled whole of India.
Not, no, I never was in Punjab, because when I first went there, you had to get a special permit if you were from the West to go to Punjab. So I didn't go to Punjab. I haven't been to Kerala. I've been to Kerala, but not Kerala. I lived for a year in Hyderabad, and then I traveled all through Andhra Pradesh, and then through Bangalore and Madras, so that much, and then in Mumbai and Delhi and Vrindavan and Gujarat and all that kind of thing. But I haven't been to many places. I haven't been so much in Haryana.
How long were you in Hyderabad? Did you know Punya Shloka?
What?
Did you know Punya Shloka? Prabhupada is something. He was there for a while.
The name sounds familiar. I was there in 1970, I guess 73 and 1974 in Hyderabad. '72 in Kolkata, '71 in Mumbai. Then all the years since then that we've gone for 2-3 months, it adds up to a big chunk of change also. You know. But as I said, you know, in the temples, you know, sometimes the devotees can cook some nice things. I don't know what people in India are cooking in their houses. I don't know if they're preparing chaat or things like that. I don't know if everyone's cooking rice, dal, and sabji every day. I guess some people are doing that. But for instance, when I go to some persons I know in Delhi, they work during the day and they come home at night. Now it's sabji and chapatis, and every third or fourth day they'll eat rice. They don't eat rice every day.
It depends upon the geographical situation as well. So North India, basically they prefer to have rice as well as chapatis almost every day. If you go to the south, then they prefer rice more and chapatis less.
But this was in Delhi, and they preferred to have chapatis and sabji weren't so much addicted to eating rice every day.
And then the impact of this whole 24 hours running job every time.
What's that?
So everybody is busy in doing their own job.
Yeah,
there's this
people
whole
are
life,
working.
right? They don't have time to even cook and feed their own families. Everything is coming prepared outside. That's a major change which is there.
But they all ate chaat.
It used to make me laugh in Navadu. Then you'd see like the brahmacharis, they'd have a big plate of rice like this, and then they'd be putting murri on the top of the rice as well.
Well, it's like that. I mean, Bengal, Calcutta is like the eastern side of India. When I go to China, you know, they have a rice cooker. They cook a lot of rice, and then they put sometimes as many as 8 different preparations, like sabjis, around the rice. which is kind of like what I'd see sometimes in Bengal. They'd have a lot of rice and then they'd have some sabji around the rice and eat like that. But in China, they'd, you know, of course with them, you know, mushrooms are a vegetable. So they have about 4 or 5 different kinds of mushrooms. And then they have Chinese cabbage and bok choy and things like that. That's green. But that kind of, and then in Hyderabad and Andhra Pradesh, they'd eat different, you know, they'd eat several different kinds of rice. They have rice with yogurt, rice with tamarind, plain rice, and
Lemon rice.
lemon rice.
Coconut rice, yeah. Prasadam.
And they'd have vegetables and vegetables with lots of dried red chilies in them. You could take out the red chilies and form a small pile of dried red chilies. Where are you from?
Varanasi.
Banaras.
Benares.
Kashi.
Okay.
Kashi Vishwanath.
Okay. Varanasi. Okay. And you're all from the same place?
Maharaj, I'm from Punjab.
You're from Punjab.
I'm from Banaras. I'm his wife.
Okay. All right. I went through, I never went to Varanasi. I never went to Banaras. I went to other places. I went to Lucknow and other places, but didn't make it to Banaras.
Prayag, Maharaj. Prayag, did you go to Prayag?
Allahabad, Prayag.
Prayag, go.
No, I don't think I made it to Prayag. We have devotees in California. They're from Prayag.
There was like a big 2-month festival, big spiritual.
Yeah, Kumbh Mela, Magh Mela, all that kind of
Spiritual,
thing.
right.
World's largest people's gathering in.
What's that?
World's largest people gathering in one specific time frame.
Yeah.
That's it.
The spiritual gathering.
So have you been to Calcutta Kali Ma Mandir as well? Kali Ma temple?
Which Kali Ma temple?
The big one.
Calcutta.
What?
The big one.
Kolkata. There is one which is.
Dakshineshwar Kali.
I've been in Paramatal. I've been to the Kali Ma temple, but I didn't go to Kali God or anything like that. But you know, Kali worship omnipresent in Bengal.
No, the story belongs to the Ramakrishna Paramahansa, where Kali herself came and took the food which he prepared and offered to her.
Maybe, but I still don't. You know.
So that's an example of a devotion of a person. How the way you just explained.
Well, we have an affinity with Bengal. We have an affinity with, you know, I know many of the persons in Bengal, they're tantric and they're also eating fish and goat and so many other things. But still, we find that is one side of Bengal, but there's also the Gaudiya mission is very strong in Bengal. And when you have kirtan, so many people will join with you. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, when he was in Vrindavan, he could do madhukari. You know, go to house, and they give you something, and you know, to eat. Sadhus would beg like that. But he said in Bengal, you can't do madhukari. Not possible. And most of the people are not vegetarian. So you wouldn't necessarily do madhukari house to house. But many of you, as I was saying, many of you are active or sometimes active in ISKCON. So, then you're familiar with Prabhupada's preaching and what's going on there. So then you've heard them singing Bhaja Bhakata and all that. Bhakti Vinod Thakur songs. Then you will conclude, if you read what's being offered by Mother Yashoda to Krishna, she's offering Bengali preparations. And I'm very happy when I'm in Bengal, because I feel very much inclined to hear about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his activities and his preaching. And I feel that's very, very special and very much necessary. We say Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahiyanya. That Mahaprabhu is both, he's Krishna, but he's covered with the Bhavakanti of Srimati Radharani. Her mood and her effulgence. That is, he's taking that golden color. Now this is Mahaprabhu's mission. What is Gaudiya? What is Gaudiya Vaishnavism? That's what we're following. What is Gaudiya? Gaudiya is Bengal. So then many of our devotees, they go to Bengal, they go to Vrindavan. Vrindavan has a strong Bengali influence in it also. I don't know if you've noticed that. You've noticed that? There's a strong influence there. So it's actually... Anyway, I think we've been talking a long time. Shall we take some prasadam before midnight?
Well, I think you prepared us for it, Maharaj.
Arti, now Arti at 2:30.
Yeah.
We have to sing for our...
This is Bogarti. All right. Did you already sing Bhaja Bhakata?
Already, yeah.
Okay, a long time ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Our devotee in California, Rune Krishna, he's from.
Bhaja Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Shri Guru Goranga Radhagiri Dari Juki Tadiya Shri Madana Raj Bogarti Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Parabrajaka Statara Zada Shri Sripad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Parabrajaka Statara Zada Shri Sripad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Parabrajaka Statara Zada Shri Sripad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Ravana Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasha Ravana Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Premsi Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavaranya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai Shri Ram Mayapur Ki Jai The Parshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai The Parshada Shri Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Shri Koladvip Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai London Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai Ganga Devi Ki Jai Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Sham Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai Shri Purushottam Dham Ki Jai Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Jo Ki Jai Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nrsimhadev Ki Jai Bhakta Prabhata Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai all the assembled devotees Ki Jai Sripad Bhakti Hrday Mahayogi Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Devashish Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Tridandi Maharaj Ki Jai all the assembled devotees Ki Jai Gaur Premanande
Jai Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj